Mockingbird and Liarbird by Raya Wakiyama. On AO3. Chapter 3. Izuku fidgets nervously as he waits for Shinso to arrive. He arrived a bit earlier than they planned to meet up, too nervous to wait around, and his mother had shooed him off. He'd started to pace so she could fold laundry in peace. Now, it was a few minutes to 1, and every time someone came near, he perked up, hoping it was Shinso before deflating, and worrying his lip, mine whispering that he's not gonna come because, of course, he would realize how worthless Izuku is, and not want to be friends with, and... Yo, Shinso said behind Izuku, and the boy yelped in surprise, jerking around to see Shinso in jeans and a t-shirt, with a light jacket thrown over it. Sorry, didn't mean to scare you, he adds, sheepishly. It's fine. Izuku stammers out, trying to get his heart rate back under control as he flushes in embarrassment. Even while he smiles so big, it hurts his cheek because Shinso actually came. He didn't stand him up, and he really wants to be here. I was just lost in thought is all. Izuku waves it off, and Shinso nods before opening the door, before gesturing Izuku to go in first. They grab some food before finding a seat and pulling out a textbook and notebook. So, if you do this, then, Izuku says, pointing from one formula to another. And the absolute for this X, you'll find the solution, Izuku exclaims, and Shinso frowns as he sucks noisily at his soda. Why did they have to add letters? He murmurs, and Izuku laughs softly. How are you so good at this already? He demands with a frown, but it's not really angry. I read ahead a lot in our books and study a lot since I don't really go out much, Izuku admits, sadly with a shrug. Plus, my mom's a whiz at math, so she helps out a lot. I think they add letters just to mess with us, Shinso says. But he attempts the next practice problem with a frown as he works through the equation. When he finishes, he pulls back and turns the workbook towards Izuku. Well, Teach, do I pass? He asks with a grin. Izuku snorts, but looks over the program and grins with a thumbs up when it's correct. Ugh, if this is how the start of our first year is going, I am dreading the next 2 years, Shinso murmurs, standing up to go refill his drink, motioning for Izuku to refill his too. Thanks, Izuku murmurs, and glances around at the people, watching as he waits for Shinso to get back. Shinso comes back, looking at his phone, while precautiously holding the 2 cups of soda, and rolling his eyes with a snort before tucking his phone away to hand Izuku's back. My foster dad's a huge dork, he murmurs as he retakes his seat. Is he the one with the voice quirk, or the one who likes cats? Izuku asks quietly after he takes a sip. Loud and blonde, Shinso murmurs, but there's a small hidden smile in the corner of his mouth. I swear, he was more excited than me that I made a friend, he admits, and Izuku laughs softly. My mom was excited too. She was making plans last I saw, and I should warn you, she will feed you, Izuku warns with a shrug. I take it you haven't had any friends in a long time either, Shinso says with a worried twist of his mouth. Izuku shrugs, fiddling with the straw wrapper on the table. My last friend turned into one of my worst bullies, so you can say probably, Izuku admits softly. Not that we were friends, I guess, but we grew up together, so we got thrown together a lot since our moms are friends, and I guess I just kinda hoped he was. Damn, that sucks, Shinso says, with a wince. A lot of people I knew stopped talking to me when my quirk came in, including my birth parents. After a few months, they gave me up, Shinso admits tiredly, looking away. No one wants to be friends with someone they're afraid will brainwash them. I'm not afraid of you, Izuku says with a small smile, and Shinso smiles back. Now we should get back to math. Izuku says, in their math teacher's voice, and Shinso snorts softly before nodding. Hitoshi knocks nervously on the door and waits, palms sweating as he hears the sound of steps approaching. This is his first time going over to a friend's place, and he's not sure what to expect. The woman that opens the door smiles encouragingly, though. You must be Shinso-san. Please, come in. Izuku stepped out to grab some snacks. She says, and Hitoshi nods with a smile, stepping in. Thank you for allowing me into your home. I'm Shinso Hitoshi. He greets with a small bow. Midoriya Inko, and I'm glad to meet you. I was so happy when Izuku said he made a new friend. Inko says with a smile, just as bright as her son's. Please, take off your shoes. There's already some slippers set out. Would you like something to drink? Eat? She asks. I'm okay. Maybe later. Hitoshi says awkwardly, and Inko nods, directing Hitoshi to the living area. So, Shinso-san, have you lived in the area long? She asks, conversationally. Hitoshi shakes his head. I recently moved in with my current foster parents, who live in the area. He explains. Oh, well, I hope they're treating you well. I hear it could be hard for children in the fostering system. Inko says, awkwardly, and Hitoshi nods. They're honestly some of the best guardians I've ever had. He admits, with an awkward chuckle. The door opens, and they both give a silent sigh of relief as it breaks the awkward silence, as Midoriya calls out. I'm back! Izuku, your friend is here! Inko calls out, and a yelp sound, followed by a thump as Izuku must have tried to hazily get out of his shoes. Shinso-kun, hi! Midoriya says, bearingly down the hall and sliding on his socks a bit. I got snacks, he says, holding up the plastic bag. Why don't you boys go to your room and I'll make some lunch for us later? Inko says, and Midoriya nods. Thanks, Mom. He calls out, and Hitoshi bows a bit into Inko before hastily following behind Midoriya into the room and stares in shock at the shrine of hero stuff that clutters his room. So this is my room? Izuku says awkwardly, shifting on his feet. I knew you were a fanboy, but I didn't realize how much. Hitoshi says quietly, as he looks around. About 70% of the room is All Might stuff alone, the man's smiling face barreling down and disruptively from multiple angles. The other 30% are various heroes. Present Mike, the Wild Pussycats, Gay Norca, Carmine Woods, Hawks, Mikuro, Best Genus, and some Hitoshi's never seen that look like they might be from other countries. I guess, Midoriya says, fidgeting with his fingers and blushing a lot. Hitoshi also noticed a small section of what appears to be underground heroes because they're mainly just grainy photos and fan drawings of the heroes that people have taken or seen. You like underground heroics too? Hitoshi asks, motioning towards the section. Izuku nods eagerly. I like all heroics, honestly, but underground heroes are some of my favorites. Though I wish they had official merch to collect, but, secret identities and all. He says with a shrug. Are you on any of the forums? Hitoshi asks eagerly, and Midoriya nods with a grin, quickly diving for his computer to bring up the sites he's on and quickly losing time talking about heroes and the various sites they're on, which apparently they're both on a few of the same sites before it eventually comes out that they both wanted to be heroes. You want to be a hero too? Hitoshi asks, excited by the confession Midoriya lets out. Well, yeah, though I don't know if I can or not. Midoriya admits with a shrug, fidgeting with a pen in his hands. I mean, all I can do is copy voices and stuff. I like to analyze quirks and stuff. He motions to a shelf by his desk with notebooks lined up neatly. Even if people say it's creepy, and, well, I'm sure it takes a lot of hard work, too. Izuku says with a sigh, like he's resigned himself to not going after his dream before it even started. Well, what about me? All I could do is brainwash people, and they have to talk back to me first. So it's not like that'll be easy, you know? But I'm still trying. I want to go to UA, and I know for a fact that they have multiple ways to get into the heroics department, not just through the entrance exam. Hitoshi adds, and Izuku perks up a bit at that. Really? Midori asks, a bit of hope showing in his eyes. Well, it won't be easy either way, but we still gotta try, right? Show everyone what us, future villains, are made of. Hitoshi says with a sharp grin, and Midoriya nods eagerly. He glances down at his hands before looking up. Would you like me to help you analyze your quirk? He asked nervously. What? Hitoshi asked, taken aback. Like, break it down and figure out how exactly it works and different ways you could use it and such. Maybe run some experiments on each other? Midoriya explained hazily, waving his hands a bit. Only if you want to, though, he adds. Are you sure? Hitoshi asks, feeling his palms sweat in nervousness. Of course, Midoriya says excitedly. The best way to figure out how your quirk works is to use it and experiment with it. He says excitedly. I did a lot of experimenting when I was young to see how to use my quirk. Thankfully, mine didn't need a second person, but I don't mind being your experiment buddy in this. Midoriya says with a nod. Are you sure? Hitoshi asked again, and Midoriya nods excitedly, already pulling up a notebook from the stack of ones that looked unused and quickly writes Hitoshi's name on the first page with his pen. I'm ready, so explain what you know so far. Midoriya orders, and Hitoshi does so. What little there is he has learned from his few quirk counseling sessions. Okay, two triggers. Verbal brainwash. Can be broken by pain, but we're unsure how much is required to do so. Midoriya reads off through his notes. Looks a lot longer than what Hitoshi said. Cool, so first step is me. Experiment how it works. Midoriya says. What? Hitoshi says nervously. Don't worry, I trust you not to hurt me. Midoriya says with a grin. Just have me do, I don't know, jumping jacks or something easy for now, he says, and Hitoshi nods nervously. All right, whenever you're ready, Midoriya says excitedly, staring eagerly at him. Izuku is nearly humming with excitement after Shinso agrees to come over for the day. It's been a month since they first met. He had not had a friend in over forever, and he and his mom go a bit overboard at the idea. Eventually, clearer minds prevail, and he convinces his mom not to go too far. He doesn't want to scare Shinso away, but still, he's excited. He decides to make a quick run to grab some snacks before Shinso gets there, and runs the whole way to the cabin in hopes of getting back before Shinso arrives. But it's in vain when a mom tells him that Shinso's already there. They quickly retreat to his room, and other than a comment and a raised brow at the shrine of his room and various heroes, Shinso doesn't seem to mind, and in fact, they eagerly get to talking about underground heroes and are even on many of the same sites, Izuku sending friend requests to Shinso's username. It eventually gets around that their dreams about being heroes and from there about their quirks. And before Izuku realizes it, he's got a notebook out and learning everything Shinso knows about his quirk. He waits expectantly for Shinso to use his quirk. He can so hear the hum in his voice when he talks. That's just in the range of hearing. Okay. Are you ready? Shinso asks, and the hum is suddenly much louder, and Izuku could almost, feel it, like a tickle in his inner ear. Grinning, Izuku nods and says, yes. Then he waits for something to happen, only nothing does, and Shinso looks confused. Did I do something wrong? Izuku asks quickly. Maybe he should have said more. No, it should have worked, Shinso says. You responded, and I should have taken control. he explains. Izuku frowns, recalling that the hum and how much pronounced it had been, which means that it is part of Shinso's quirk, and the increase meant he was actively using it. So why didn't it work? Unless. Oh, Izuku hums with a faint grimace. What? Shinso asks quickly. Maybe I'm not the best test subject after all for this, Izuku admits softly. You need someone to physically speak to you in order for it to connect, and well, I technically can't. Izuku reminds him. I speak through my quirk, so there's nothing to trigger the second part of your quirk. Oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense, Shinso says with a frown. Izuku frowns, though because there's something about this that's nagging at him. I think it might be more than just them responding, though, Izuku admits, and Shinso looks up in surprise. I can hear your quirk. It's like this hum, and it got louder when you used it, but I also sort of felt it, I guess? Like I was trying to latch on here. He pressed his throat. But also here. He touches his ear. The inner ear is more closely connected to the brain than our vocal cords are. I think when you use your quirk, you release a hum that's low frequency sound, which most people can't technically hear, but the ears and minds can still feel it. So when you speak, they're acknowledging that hum, and it allows the connection to be formed between you and them. Plus, they also have to be talking to you, like they're acknowledging your words in some way. So even if it's not trying to catch a person, they respond. You can technically grab them too, maybe even multiple people, though I'm not sure how much of a strain that would be. That's a lot, Shinso says in shock at Izuku's word vomit. I never realized how much more there is to it, he admits. Quirks are a lot more complex than people realize, Izuku says, eagerly. A lot of the straightforward quirks that are actually very complex, but because most people don't notice the small bits happening, they don't think they're there. I like figuring out those small bits, like how when my quirk first came in, it was just assumed that I could only copy quirks, but over time I realized that it's any sound and that I have an electro memory for sounds. Izuku explained quickly. Electro memory? Shinso asked. I never forget a sound, Izuku explains. It's how I remember vocal cords and sounds, and I don't copy sounds with my quirk and then just forget them when I stop using my quirk. I hear them, memorize the various frequencies that come together to create the sound, and recreate them with my quirk. My quirk is like an artificial vocal cord for me, only with a range that far surpasses normal vocal cords. Wow, Shinso murmurs. So you could overhear an entire conversation and recreate it from memory? So if someone confesses to you, you could recall the confession word for word? Shinso says. Yeah, I guess you could say I'm a glorified recording device, Izuku says with a nod. No, but think about it. You wouldn't even need to have a recording device on you. You are one. So if you go undercover, they'll never find it on you. Shinso explains. Izuku's eyes go wide. And I can consistently change my voice, so they'll never know who I am, Izuku says excitedly. You'll be able to do a lot with your quirk, Shinso says with a grin. Except past UA's entrance exam, Izuku says quietly, and the mood drops. All the cool tricks in the world won't help me beat a bunch of robots, Izuku murmurs. Yeah, that too, Shinso admits with a huff. Well, I've got a plan for that. Like I said before, there's more than one way to get into the heroics program. If we can't get in through the entrance exam, then we use the sports festival. If you do really well in the sports festival, like third round well, it might be enough for one of the teachers to sponsor you to train and transfer you into the hero course, Shinso explains. So basically, we have a backup plan? Izuku says, and Shinso nods. We chain for the entrance exam, and if it doesn't work, we go with plan B. The only thing we have to do is make sure we're good enough to at least get into the Gen Ed course, Shinso adds. Okay, we have a plan. So now to figure out the in-betweens of the plan. I don't know about you, but I'm not sure how exactly we would need to train to even be ready for it. Izuku admits. I'll talk to my foster dads. They know a thing or two about training, Shinso says, and Izuku nods. A knock at the door breaks their strategizing. Boys, lunch is ready if you're hungry. Izuku's mother calls into the room. Coming, thanks, Mom, Izuku says, and she walks off. All right, we'll pick this up later, Izuku says, and Shinso nods before following him out of the room. Izuku wants to groan so badly when they come out to see the spread of food across the table. He could already tell his mother restrained herself from cooking even more food for lunch, but it's already far more than he and probably Shinso were expecting. Izuku sends a look to the wide-eyed teen as if to say, "What did I tell you?" before sitting in his seat to Shinso. Thanks, Mom. It looks delicious. You didn't need to make so much, Izuku chimes gently. Nonsense! You're both growing boys, and if Shin-san wants, he could take some home to his family. Inko waves off with a smile. It looks delicious, Midoriya-san, Shinso says, and Izuku snorts softly. Shinso kicks his ankle in retaliation as he accepts a plate of food from Inko. I'll definitely take some home. This is such a cute... okay, this is so cute. You know, Shinso meeting Midoriya's mom, and I love that Midoriya's mom is nice in this. You know, gotta love a good parent Inko. Normally when I'm going to read Found Family, where Izuku gets adopted by Eraser Mike, I normally try to have it where it's dead Inko and not bad Inko, because my heart can't support bad Inko. Inko is the best mother ever, and I don't think I could, bad Inko. No. I normally try to go for dead Inko. I would rather have her dead than evil, But, I've had my fair share of bad Inko fix, because found family is found family, and if Inko has to die or be evil, so be it. I'm getting my found family. But this is a very interesting chapter. I had a lot of fun with Izuku's word vomit and murmuring. One thing I will say that I really, really not dislike from this, fanfic and series, but that is like, I love it. I love it. Obviously, I love that Izuku's quirk, what it is, but also, there is so many times I've noticed in the past 3 chapters I've recorded where I go to speak in Izuku's voice, and it turns out he's speaking in somebody else's voice, so I have to go back and record that. But I do love Izuku's voice. It's very interesting, and I'm having fun with it. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I can't wait for the more chapters. Like, this series is such a good series. I'm so happy that Shindeku was the one that won in the poll so that we get to see this. But this is a wonderful series. And see you tomorrow for chapter 4, because that's my thank you to you guys. A series where you get it updated every single day, because you guys are wonderful, and I wouldn't have a channel without you guys. You guys are my raindrops. You can't have a storm without, or a rainstorm without raindrops, without rain. So you guys make me, because without you guys, I wouldn't have this channel. I wouldn't have anything, but I deeply appreciate you guys. I can't express it enough. As always, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds, have a wonderful day or night, join our community Discord server, link is in the description, subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.